Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cobcast, where I tell you a different story every, not day, as of right now, every week. So, like I mentioned in my last video, I don't have the capacity or the means to really do my videos every single day. I mean, I could, but I want to bring you guys some better quality content. Right now, I got a nice camera stand, need a nice camera, and a nice microphone. But right here behind me, since I don't have my barrel, and I'm wearing a junky shirt because I'm working on my car, and I figured this would be a good opportunity between things that I'm doing in order to tell a story. And plus, you guys deserve one. It's been 8 days now. And here we are, still kind of stuck in the midst of all of this, and I promise I will keep giving you guys content. Just bear with me for the moment, and it will keep coming out. Now, today's story, I really don't know what I want to call it. Maybe just car crash? We're going to call it car crash. Because, and there will probably be other ones about car crashes, but I've never been in a car crash. This has nothing to do with me. This has to do with somebody that I know very well. I have more stories about this said person, but for right now, we're going to tell you this story that is just mind-boggling. And the background behind this is I know somebody about 3 miles away from me who has this car that has been sitting there. And, oh man, what was it, like a LeSabre or some kind of Buick, or it was just a, cheap late 90s car, maybe a 98. And it was kind of just like a farm car, kind of a junker. And something that is actually pertinent to the story is there is a tow hitch welded on to the back of the frame, so this car can haul a small dolly or a small trailer just around the property. But I mean, obviously you wouldn't be hauling something like a forklift or some kind of machine type stuff, any kind of farming equipment. I mean, maybe a mower, tractor mower at the most. But any hoodle, this car was parked, not running for years. The battery was obviously shot. And the guy that had this car was just kind of sitting on it, didn't know what to do with it. And one of my buddies, said, I know what we can do with that car. And in order for him to work on this project that he had came up with, he had to tow it somewhere else, because this project would have been too much for him to want him to do it on his property, because he was basically going to gut the car. Basically just leave the front seats, or at least one front seat for the driver, reinforce, maybe put a roll cage in it, pretty much just gut the whole thing and make it a derby car. And it wasn't a very good car for a derby car, but that was the idea at least. Well, considering that the tires would only hold air for so long, there was this time limit thing that they had came up with where they air up the tires and they put it in neutral, and then they just haul it and get it going while the tires have air. But that's not even the worst of it. The big problem was, instead of using a dolly or a trailer or a flat, I'm trying to find a way to say this without jumping right to the point, but I will tell you this, it is so stupid, and if I was there, this would not have happened. Instead of chains, there is these ratchet straps. Instead of a dolly, there was a truck just pulling it from ratchet straps, not butt to butt, not ass to ass, which it shouldn't be like that anyways, but just hear me out here. You got a pickup truck, like a Chevy 1500, and you've got this smaller car with no power steering, because obviously it doesn't start, and there's no brakes, because it doesn't start. You got weak tires, but not only that, he decided that he would hook it up with these banded ratchet straps, and here, I'll grab an example. Just because I like to have props, right? This is a ratchet strap, in case you don't know. You crank these down. This is what they were using to pull this car out of the spot that it had been sitting for, at least 5 years. Probably much longer than that. But I know of it being there for at least 5 years. So that's fine. They pull it out of the spot it's been sitting. So they can get whatever they need to do to get it prepped for transport. Since they can't drive the actual vehicle, they had to haul it. And it's only 3 miles, right? But instead of actually turning it around, well, they didn't have to turn it around, but instead of just pulling around to the other side once they drug it from the spot that it was in, they just kept pulling it backwards. Now, it's a front-wheel drive vehicle. Well, all vehicles are going to, unless you're talking about a forklift, they're all going to spin and turn from the front wheel. Well, like I said, there's no brakes, there's no power steering, and the idea with them is to just haul it all the way here on those straps, not those ones in specific, and just, pump the brakes as necessary and then steer backwards and have somebody sit in the cab of the car that was being towed. And, well, basically what it boiled down to is they go around the first main S turn somehow, going real slow, trying to be careful. God, I wish I was there because, man, none of this would have been a thing. I mean, stupidity, man. Right after that first S turn, there's a big hill. And I don't mean like 45-degree angle hill or anything like that. I mean, it's probably like a 20-degree slope. But like even on a bicycle, you come up at it 5 miles an hour, you're going 25 miles an hour by the time you hit the bottom of the hill. I mean, it's pretty steep. Right at the bottom of this hill, the reason that this hill is like that is because it's a valley in the road, or the way the road is going around a creek. And along the sides, well, one side of the creek is kind of dammed off with rocks and stuff, white broken rock. But the other side has about a 40-foot drop, and there's a guardrail. Actually, more about that in a minute. There's a guardrail there, and you can kind of see the tree line, and then just right off the edge of that, there's just one little concrete block. Well, not block, but it's like a concrete curb. And other than that, I mean, hell, you could jump off the thing, normal height. You could just run up and jump, and then you're falling a long ways. What ended up happening? Once he started going down that hill in his truck, and this car, steering backwards, keep in mind, is not able to have enough brake capacity, not enough brake pressure to slow the car down. And obviously steering was an issue, but it wasn't the steering that caused the problem. It was that the person driving the truck knew that there was a hill there, and so as he was going down the hill, he started slowing down, and the person that was in the cab of the car trying to steer was hitting the brakes, but the car caught up to the truck and then bumped the rear end, the tailgate of the truck, and then hit it, and it caused the car to immediately spin off to the side, and it pulled the truck a little bit over the side too. However, the car, with the inertia from it rolling in and hitting a stop, it flipped the car, and it flipped it directly in the direction that it went down into the creek. One of the things that I want to say about future videos is I want to be able to put in, because I have photos of this, I want to be able to put in pictures of some of these stories I'm going to tell you and have them up on the screen so you could see exactly what I'm trying to describe. The person in the car, he managed to survive. But if you were to see these pictures, which like I said, maybe I'll have to do a re-upload on this and put some actual photos to show you what happened, because there was a wheel hub with a tire over here, there was a car door over here, there's just parts of vehicle that you can't even tell what they are. The car, it didn't explode, but it like exploded in a way. Like the car blew apart because it had tumbled and then smashed the ground so hard. It threw parts 80 yards away. There was a tire. Well, I mean, a tire probably rolled, but tire found 80 yards away. And the dude that was in there, in that car, and then at this point, it's just the chassis and the body of the car. I mean, everything else was just completely smashed. He managed to climb out of the window, because, I mean, the doors were not going to open on this thing. Climb out of the window, and then when the person driving him in that truck ran up thinking, oh my God, I just killed him. And he sees him giving a thumbs up. Yes, he was injured. He had some damaged ribs. I don't know if he broke any ribs, but sometimes a bruised rib could hurt worse than a broken rib. He had some kind of like neck torsion, and some sprained joints and stuff. But he crawled out of there, and thankfully, there was somebody else that lived right down the way that actually heard the commotion, heard the big giant crash. Because I mean, when that car went down, from what I hear, like I said, I wasn't there because that wouldn't have happened. But this is the thing about, like, the choices you make when you're going to put somebody behind a vehicle like that and do something like that. It could have very easily killed him. But yeah, they came out, immediately called the police. Lo and behold, they were drunk. So, a lot of questions to answer, and yeah, well, I'll just leave it at that. So, for future, don't ever try to pull a car backwards with another vehicle, because it's just a bad idea. Use a dolly, use a flatbed, something. But I really wanted to tell that story, because it's just one of the many that, oh my goodness, it's just so, it's hard not to talk about. And if I have any more details, I will add them when I make a redo of this, so I could actually show you photos and a little bit more of anything else that I might have missed. Thank you so much for watching. I will have a video up next week, and I'll try to keep the same thing going. But like I said, I got a camera stand, just got to get a nice camera, got to get a microphone, maybe a green screen. Boom, and we're back in business. Thank you everybody so much for watching.